And so there's just so many things going on too, because I have this paper. It's clear that our food is being attacked, not just in America, but in Canada and so many European countries, and all of it is about control. When you mentioned Bill Gates, he's one of the biggest shareholders for John Deere. I can play a clip. He was on Jimmy Fallon recently, and he was jokingly talking about what AI will replace and make better. He mentioned farming and making it, essentially his goal is to own all the land, producing all the food using AI robots. So there's no farmers, taking them all out. And then there's a lot of issues going around in America, like this Maud family that's happening. And so I had the paper because it's happening in South Dakota, because they're trying to make a plea to Donald Trump because their hearing is April 29th, I believe.
Okay.
This family, the wife and husband each are facing up to 10 years in prison, $250,000 fine for a fence that's been on their property for generations. They've never had a single issue with the National Forest Service.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden they got this complaint from an anonymous hunter that their fence line is on the property of the actual National Forest Service. And so now they're using that. And so it goes by, what's her name? Keely Covello. She's been doing awesome reporting on all of this going on and talking to the folks around the surrounding area and how the Maus have never done anything wrong. They've complied with these services their whole life, never once received a complaint. Now all of a sudden, they're being told that this fence that they've had, again, since I believe the 1910s, possibly earlier, that's causing a massive problem. And so they brought over agents in tactical gear to their farm, and now they're under, I forgot the term, to where they can't talk. They're under some disclosure.
Like a gag order.
Yeah, they're under a gag order to where they can't even talk. And so she's talked to a lot of the neighbors how they're having a lot of problems with these Forest Service trees and how they're working with billionaires. And so there seems to be a lot of nefarious things going on about controlling these conservation lands, but it's essentially to take out farmers and ranchers, because that's happening. That happened in California too. I'm blanking so hard on that family because there's 12 ranches in this California area that are currently trying to be taken out in the name of conservation too. But whenever you follow the paper trail, it's billionaires essentially just playing with their own playground essentially, and they don't care. And so there's a lot of these things that are going on everywhere. In Canada, I just had this woman, she's an ostrich farmer, Universal Ostrich Farm in Canada. She has a trial next week to where she might lose her 400 head of ostriches that all has to deal with the ostrich eggs. She was doing research with a Japanese scientist where they were analyzing these egg yolks and to where they have the antibodies to help us with our immune system relating to COVID. And she has all this research out there, and the government was trying to say they had the bird flu. So this is where the bird flu came into play, and that's what's huge in America. They go by PCR tests, which are fraudulent. They don't actually work. But that's how they use it to use the power to take out your bird flock. And for this example, for the ostrich farm. And so I had her on my podcast, and just hearing her tragic story to where, fortunately, a lot of the awareness happened for folks, and they made the pushback to where she was supposed to have the cull order February 1st, but now obviously it's April and still getting pushed back, but still she might end up losing it all still. And the government won't budge on anything. She has all the research for everything that they're claiming is wrong. She has the evidence, but they don't care. They actually visited her farm. She was saying she talked to a hazmat suit expert. Not only were they wore hazmat suits, they were wearing the wrong ones. And then they started asking about her vials of research related to the COVID stuff. So it wasn't even relating to the actual ostriches. They were asking for all this COVID research too. And so there's all these little nefarious things going on with them. And then you look into UK with inheritance tax. They're trying to decimate the farmers there. And then you look in Hungary, how they're trying to destroy the cattle industry with mouth and foot disease. All of these things sound scary on paper for the average consumer. But then this is where I'm trying to go for the awareness sake of pushing back to all of those lies. They're able to get away with all that because none of us understand it all.
Right.
And they're very aware of that too. That's kind of why I'm going about it from my perspective too, with my unique experiences, is I can easily tell when they're bullshitting us. And I can also tell whenever people are talking for the ranchers, I can tell when they're bullshitting too, and the fact that they've never talked to the actual ranchers, because I'm doing that every single day. And what they're telling me is vastly different from what these people or what the media is saying. And that's kind of why I'm going about it through all of that is, okay, the media is telling us X, Y, Z, the FDA, USDA, or what have you. Go out to a farm or ranch. Go out to a raw dairy farm. See for yourself. Ask questions with the farmer. Educate yourselves. Try the milk. How does it make you feel? And then you can compare the two and realize you're being lied to and you're being played. And so that's why, above all else, I will always preach, shake your rancher's hand.
Yeah.
Or as my friend H.R. Richards says, shake the hands that feeds you, because once you see the whole system at play, what you've been missing your whole life, actually talking to a farmer or rancher, and it actually humanizes this whole thing. And then you actually try the food and realize, wow, okay, most grocery stores don't have this. Slowly that is happening, but no, Sprouts, but the typical Walmart does not have what a lot of farm fresh produce and meats can offer. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.